It's 12:57, January 2nd, 2026. And so, just wanted to make a note from my journal here. I am very happy. I actually got a card. Well, I got a postcard, you know. It's my granddaughter in there. That's my granddaughter, Arden. Arden Iris. And so that makes me very happy. And as a result, you know, I'm actually just gonna say, you know, I'm actually writing them back. I'm gonna write my granddaughter's parents back, my son and his wife. And not that it's a problem or anything like that. It's just I didn't even know their address until now. You know, but you know, I feel wounded inside, and I feel wounded, you know, because I haven't been like in touch actually, you know, with my own kids. And I don't believe there's really anything I can do about that. And my hands are tied somewhat. Like, I don't even have any contact information, okay? And except for now, my one youngest boy, Isaac. And so I'm documenting this turn of events right now here for myself. I guess, you know, just to put in context, if like I am talking to you, my grandchildren, because I try to keep some purpose, you know, for this, because it's a conversation that I'm really having with myself. And I do know that other people do take a look at my public, you know, journal entries. And you know, I am grateful for that. Hopefully they're more than just paid content observers. Because I know that YouTube and everybody else, you know, hires and actually pays people to be content observers. That's why if you say something wrong or something, you know, they won't let you, you know, to say something. Like, it'll violate the rules. But, you know, those rules are I don't know, they're not necessarily good or bad, but nevertheless, they are rules. And anyway, you know, that being said, I got on my mind right now, you know, wounds and walls. And I tell you, you know, one of the biggest walls that I'm finding right now that's emerging, it's not cryptocurrency. It is synthetic and altered content, media generated by AI, fake stuff. Because now it's like all the time I'm seeing stuff like that I watch, you know, for news, to get my news and everything, and I'm looking at these people, and yeah, it looks like them, okay, it's their face, like, you know, it's like a photographed picture, you know, of a person's face or something like that, you know, but the way they do their eyes up and down, the way they talk with this certain kind of syncopation or motion, and these are how you can actually tell, okay, that we can interpret, like, what you call body language. Okay, and we do that as human beings. We do this at the micro level. Okay, and that's even a word that they use for this. Okay, people that study body language, they study I'm pretty sure they call it the micro. They don't call it microscopic, right? But it might be. They might use the word microscopic, right? But it's not like, I'm not talking about like looking at atoms and stuff like that. I'm talking about in a microscope. I'm talking about just what it is it's a closer look, okay? Like, the raise of the eyebrows, okay? Obviously certain things, like gestures like smiles and I don't know, different behaviors, and plus you have to base it on like what they call a baseline, and that's the person's normal behavior. I mean, you got to know, what their, features are, like, some people talk with their hands. So, some people don't, some people use certain gestures, other people don't. And there's a lot of stuff that's based in just the, the learned behaviors that are, particular to like certain countries and certain groups of people, Okay. Like if you go to Japan or China, one or the other, I think it might be Japan. They tell you not to, it's disrespectful to look at people like in the eye or something. Whereas in like America, like if you don't look at somebody in the eye, especially like when you're talking to them, then they might think that you're hiding something because it ain't got anything to do with actual like respect. Not looking somebody in the eye has like in American perception more to do with like being ashamed or hiding something, like you can't look them in the eye because you can't go through the emotions associated with maybe like lying to somebody and looking them in the eye when you do it. Okay. That's why, and people that are like sociopaths, okay, or also not, you don't have to just be a sociopath, okay, but you could be even like an actor, okay, and you can learn to actually lie and display certain kind of gestures that will make people believe what you're telling them. Okay, some people can even actually like, okay, actors, for example, they usually can like make themselves cry at will. Like if they have to express an emotion, okay, they can like me, like I can't, for example, I can't actually like do that. Like I couldn't like go or anything like that, like I can't actually like evoke like, myself to cry, elicit myself to cry, like, unless I'm actually is true. Okay. And I don't feel things that make me cry just because I want to. Anyway, that being said, it's a new year, and I'm always, thinking with regard to a little amount of time that I have left. Okay. And it does, because comparatively speaking, I mean, like when I think about my, my own, like I have a granddaughter now, you know, like, I'm just saying, okay? Well, see, when I think about that, okay, see, even that thought right there, that can, like, I wasn't thinking about anything sad or anything making me cry, but there's certain kind of thoughts, about a precious young life, okay? Like, that can, draw up or elicit in me because I feel association with that reality of a baby, and everything that means. Okay? And it's kind of especially if it's a grandbaby, okay? It's kind of like passing off the baton, You don't normally pass the baton off to your own children. I mean, you do sometimes kind of in a way, I guess, but sometimes, like in my case, your own children kind of disregard you. But, I mean, I think it is kind of supposed to be that way, but it's not a good thing, like, when it's too much, and then, like in my case, it is too much. No. That's why I'm taking action, that's why I'm actually writing them. I'm writing them right now. But anyway. So anyway, I don't know that, without going into a lot of detail, I feel my thing, what I'm facing right now is wounds and walls. Because there's walls that block conversation, and there's wounds that block conversation. But the thing that I was thinking about when I was thinking about wounds is, one thing is because Mr. T has got this wound on his leg. And I have suffered a lot with different kind of wounds. Wounds with my own life, and wounds with my dogs, and wounds with people that I have worked with, and wounds with people that I have loved, and wounds with, that come from living life. And it's just like, you can't live life without getting hurt. Just like you can't live life without getting a coffee stain. You can't live life without being astonished one way or the other. But look, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you Mr. T's wound because, just a murder that popped on his leg. Oh, baby, take a hit on that. Well, this is thing, I don't know, it just came right out of his skin. And I don't want to see Mr. T get hurt. Like what happened to some of my other dogs, different things hurt him. And that's how I know that I'm the way I'm going to go too, Something's just going to happen and I'm going to get hurt. That's going to be it for me. But, anyway, the thing is I learned about wounds is, you can't, it's better not to pick at them. And there's a lot of people, including myself, like I will pick at my own wound. And I've been told not to. Like if I have a wound or something. And you especially can't pick at your wounds if you have like fingernails with dirt underneath fingernails, because the dirt has germs. And you know, sometimes you have to like debride wounds, but it's a whole art to treating wounds. And one of the best probably pieces of advice that I got is when I had a wound on my nose for when I was kayaking and flipped over and I broke my nose because I hit a rock underneath the water. And it was as soon as I said, I got this, because I had learned how to roll my kayak, but I had just learned, and as soon as I got flipped over, man, in that rapid, I said to myself, I got this. And I was going to roll back up, and I face planted right against a rock and broke my nose. But the piece of advice that I got was that I was at the pub where I like to drink beer, and I had that broken nose, and plus, it was cut also, and had abrasion. And anyway, one of the waitresses, told me to put, Vaseline on it, And she said that it would make it so it didn't scar. And see, I never had anybody actually ever tell me that before. But then I learned about, Vaseline. It helps your wounds heal. It helps the skin heal. But like, I changed this for my rule number 5. Alright, so now it's rule number 5. When all is wrong and you spare, make some dung butter and hang in there. Okay. And that's I'll just show you one more time. I just showed you all my signs. Now, one more time. Because and then at the top, climb every mountain. Anyway, I'm happy with it now. I'm happy with it now, and now, it's nice at the beginning of, a new year. Now I actually got a structure built. Okay. Which I can make a climbing wall in. And, look, my only constraints are the amount of money that I have to spend the material required to make a climbing wall, and then I got to consider how I'm actually going to make it. And I think I'm gonna put more wood in there, in between the 4x, okay, which are my posts, or my the 4x4x16s, the big long ones. And that's what my plywood is screwed to. And so I actually prefer to stay out here, actually. And as I finish this up, okay. So anyway, I'm gonna just sit down, I guess. So So anyway, I think I was thinking after okay, sometimes when you do something or say something, it might make sense at the time, but then it makes less sense after that moment is over, and you think about it and stuff like that, and regroup and go through all the processes that we do when we think about our lives and our purpose, and actually what it is that we want to say, and what it is that we want, to be known. And so what I'm saying is, I measure my time, and I measure out, I measure out what I say and what I want to say according to a little bit of time I got left. By comparison, okay. If you ever studied like psychology, you would there's one guy in there, I think his name is Eric Erickson, and it's different stages of your life, and it's kind of spelled out, okay, like at this age, this is a stage, and they have your stage, like described like by a word. Okay, well, the word that describes the stage that I'm in right now in my life it's the last stage. And it's a stage of generativity. But it's the last stage. And hopefully, this stage can last for a while. Like sometimes, I think it ain't gonna last too long. But that's because I've been wounded by the death of my dogs. And I'm reminded day by day in the feeling of my own body. Look, man, I have pain because of injuries that I've had, okay? And plus, I just feel pain for other things. You can't go through life without getting hurt. And then what happens is when you might get hurt when you're younger, okay? But then, it might heal, all right? But then later on in life, it's going to hurt because it don't forget. And life doesn't forget. But okay. But that being said right there, life don't forget. This is actually okay, and your body doesn't forget the injury. No matter how you think you might have got over it, well, you might have to think again later on. Okay. But the thing is, it's come to my consideration and understanding recently. In fact, I can actually kind of say that I got big machinery and stuff nearby. All right, that's what them noises are. But the thing is, now I believe in the quantum field, and in science, what they call entanglement, and because they've proven it to be true. Okay, and what that just proves is that we really don't know all as much as we think we know. Okay. Einstein called the quantum physics reality. Okay, he called it spooky. It might have been, he might have called it like a spooky Spooky something at a distance. Spooky. I don't remember what he's called. Spooky something at a distance. Okay, but that's what that was. That was his way of saying that he really couldn't crack. He couldn't really, wrap his brain around it, and couldn't actually make any like affirmative statement or something. Or maybe that might not be the right way to say it, but he called it spooky. And usually if you're calling something spooky, it's because it is mysterious, and that means that you really don't understand everything about it. And that fact right there kind of makes you feel like you've been spooked. Okay? Like a horse, when it gets spooked, it will jump and run. Or something, and you can get spooked. And he called it spooky. I don't know if you call it spooky science at a distance. Spooky science at a distance, or spooky. I don't know, but what it is, it's spooky because what science is actually telling us today in quantum, and in the study of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, is that they look at this stuff at the particle level, which is more microscopic than the atom. It's like, I think it might be like electrons or something, okay? And so they've said for a long time, because this is what I was taught when I was growing up, in school, that that an atom has a nucleus, and it has positive and negative electrons that orbit around the nucleus. Okay? And they are in motion, and everything is made out of atoms. Like this thing right here, that's made out of atoms. And today they even have programmable material today, and they have self-assembling materials. Okay? And they can program stuff at this level. And the quantum servers today make all their processes of intelligence and everything like that, okay? This AI, this super intelligence, through particles. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's basically like light. And all these particles speak, through the on and off binary code. And it's like, okay, like Morse code, beep, 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 beep. Okay, that means something, okay? All right, well, science has all this stuff figured out. And they might not have it figured out, but they got it documented, and they got it figured out enough that they can talk about it with some kind of sensibility and predict what things are. And one of the things is this experiment that they did a long time ago with light, shining a laser light through a hole, and then through a diverter, okay, and then so you got the particles going in two different directions, and then and then actually they had mirrors, okay, and then shined the light straight back to where it came from. And I don't remember all the conclusions of this experiment, or actually what it's called. I think it might be like the Heisenberg or something experiment or something like that. But it is the one that definitively expresses the fact that a particle can be in two places at the same time. And whereas sound waves, travel through air. Like if you don't have air, you don't have sound. Okay? That's why I was always wondering ever since I learned that, They say like an amplifier for like a guitar that has vacuum tubes, tubes, and them tubes, don't have any air in them. They're vacuum tubes. but they make the music sound the best. And I'm not sure how this stuff works out, but I do know, okay, that sound waves go through air. So air is the conduit for sound waves. Light, contrarily, does not need air. Okay. And the reason for all this is because, they're trying to get to the bottom of nothing. Okay. So if they make a vacuum and there's nothing in that tube, okay, and they draw all the air out, then what else is in there? Okay. Well, sound can't travel through it, okay? Because sound vibrates. Just like light is also a vibration and a okay. I'm having a blank right now. Okay, it's two things. Okay, I can't remember what the other one is. Okay, see, light. Okay, something can be a vibration, which is like a sound. Okay, which has frequency and stuff like that. But light is also similar to sound in that, there's different spectrums of light. There's spectrums of light that we can't see, just like there's sounds that we can't hear. Okay? But sounds travel through air. And if there is no air, then sounds can't travel through it. Okay? But light, on the other hand, can travel through air. And, the speed of light is the fastest thing in the universe, and that is, and the thing about it is, okay, that's how we communicate, in fiber optics, say, it's through light, okay, and the information goes through light, and these are particles, and the particles, now they understand, can be in two places at the same time, and if you affect one over here, it also affects the other one over there, and they don't even exist until they're observed, because that's what the quantum field is, because it's a field of possibility, and nothing is actually in real until it is observed in the quantum field somehow. Okay, they come to understand this. All right, but philosophically, they did this thing. Like I remember when I was younger. In the book. Reading about this stuff. Does a tree that falls in the forest make a sound if nobody's there to hear it? And that comes from a long time ago, but now we revisit that. Okay, so I would obviously think yes, it does, but I mean, it's a philosophical question, all right? And they have other philosophical questions like that, okay? And today they have to apply philosophical questions actually to the sciences and what the implications of the sciences actually mean. Like, does even consciousness even exist? Because it seems like there's proof that consciousness doesn't actually just exist in the gray matter of your brain. Today it seems more like, in our understanding and learning of science and everything, that the brain is like a receptor, and consciousness is actually out there. The field of consciousness is in the quantum field, okay? And that's why when you dream, like I dreamed, last night and this morning as I was waking up before I got up, I dreamed, I had a, I don't know if he was a teacher or if he was a supervisor, a new supervisor for me or something like that, kind of like when I did my clinical, pastoral education work in the, UVA, at the hospital there. It was under the science program. And anyway, in my dream, the guy was a lot heavier. And then just like a couple months later, he was a lot lighter. And I said, "Hey man, it looks like you lost some weight." And then he stretches pants out because had elastic pants or something like that. Stretch them way out, And then I said, "Oh man, that's how much weight you lost, a lot." And why would I dream something like that? You know? It was real. It seemed to be real. And they talk about the Akashic record and all that. Anyway, I'm at 35 minutes now, so I'm gonna cut this one off. But you know, I'm just saying that, in the quantum field, and that is the science of the day, and it has to be reckoned with, and it's true. It is a field of possibility, and it just seems to me that that along in this field of potential possibilities and everything, there's a lot of we experience in life a lot of wounds and walls, and I just think that we have to try to make the world a better place, by making good decisions and stuff like that. And so, that's what I hope for my own grandchildren. And I think with AI today, which I believe is like one of the biggest walls, emerging walls, because it's all fake. I mean, this ain't even real people talking. It's generated by artificial intelligence, and it's fake. I mean, the news and stuff is real, but it's fake. It's imitation people. I don't like it. I don't like fake stuff, and I don't like fake people. So, look, I'm just gonna call this one, fake people. No, that sounds too negative. I am not gonna do that. Well, I'll just say new day, because it's a new day and a new year, and okay, so I modified my rule number 5, from a poem that I read when I was a teenager, when all goes wrong and you despair. It was a card, okay? It said, when all goes wrong and you despair, stand on faith and hang in there. Well, I'm saying, rule number 5 to dung butter, when all goes wrong, or when all is wrong and you despair, make some dung butter and hang in there. Because dung butter means work, hard work, It's the best therapy. Hard work or work is the best therapy. I'm just gonna call this one the best therapy, or no? This is my therapy. This is my therapy. Okay. No, that's it.